So you see, Sammy, Ben Johnson could end up being the greatest NFL head coach of all time, or he could end up being Lane Kiffin. There is really a lot of uncertainty with Ben Johnson, but what I am certain of is that he's been a little too precious over the last couple of weeks regarding his future employment in the NFL. And I understand that you want to protect yourself. You don't want to go into a bad situation. I think about people like Norv Turner, or even Lane Kiffin and Norv Turner, who walked into situations where, coaching the Raiders didn't end up working out very well for them. And that's fine. Neither one of those. Although, if you look at Lane Kiffin bouncing around, getting fired from USC, bouncing on Tennessee, did eventually get it right. I think he's at Mississippi now. This is how much I pay attention to college football now. Now, maybe he's doing all right now, but still, at the time, it did not work out well in Oakland, in Tennessee, at USC. Fired on the tarmac. Norv Turner took a job with the then Oakland Raiders, and everybody just sort of dismissed it. Or actually, he took a job at the team that played football in Washington. Oh no, here come the Commander fans. How dare you come out? No, I'm just kidding. Like all of you know, none of you know that Norv Turner once coached the Washington Football Club, whatever. But the point of the matter is, Ben Johnson is a great coordinator, and he's going to be one of the top candidates in the NFL in this coaching cycle. But again, he's being a little too precious. And for him to go out there and just lay out his demands, which was certainly targeted towards the Chicago Bears. And you can say this too, like, hey, he wants to protect himself. He didn't say that. He did say this. These are words coming from his agent being delivered to Albert Breer, so Albert Breer can publicly hand this to the Chicago Bears, just in case Ben Johnson is hired by the Chicago Bears and things go awry and be like, well, they didn't live up to their promises. We said this going into this job, that this is what we demanded. He's already protecting himself from failing in Chicago or Jacksonville or wherever he ends up. And quite honestly, Ben Johnson, you're not Bill Walsh. You're not Paul Brown. You're not Chuck Noll. You're not Bill Belichick. You're an offensive coordinator. And we've seen Lane Kiffin, Norv Turner, Adam Gase, Matt Nagy. We can, Callahan in Tennessee right now. We've seen a lot of people, Frank Reich. We've seen a lot of people fail. These hot named coordinators going someplace and failing. Brian Daboll, who could possibly be fired in New York at the end of this season. So Ben Johnson, and remember, Ben Johnson, compare him to Brian Daboll. When Brian Daboll was the hot named guy, or even one of the college guys like Chip Kelly. Oh gosh, you make your demands and you do all that stuff. How do we know that you're a good head coach? I'm really curious about that, and I've gone on way too long. Sammy, let's go ahead and start the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast with Adam Rank.
It's Hester trying to work it back to the middle. Gets past the first wave, and here he goes. It's Hester inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown. And no flag, 92 yards.
Brought to you by Circa Sports Illinois, the sickest Chicago Bears and fantasy football podcast. Sports entertainment like no other. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank, the weekend edition. And want to thank everybody for being here. Still want to sit here and give you some thoughts on Ben Johnson and his demands. Though right now I do want to remind everybody that at Windy City Sports Cards, they specialize in all things related to Chicago sports. Whether you are a fan of the Bears, Bulls, Cubs, White Sox, Blackhawks, or Sky, Windy City Sports Cards has you covered with a wide variety of items. And in addition to their Chicago-focused items, they've got you covered in all things professional sports, professional wrestling, entertainment. Listen, I met Scott Wolf on the set of GMFB over the weekend, actually on Friday morning. I'm going to see if he can get me some memorabilia from the movie Go. One of my favorite movies of all time, actually. I love the movie Go. Love that film. Was able to talk to Scott Wolf. That was really fun. What a cool guy he was. Like, I was afraid. I was walking around, and I walk into the makeup room, and I'm flapping my gums like I usually am until I realized Scott Wolf was there, stopped talking, then looked over to him, and I'm like, oh, God, Scott Wolf's there. I stayed quiet. I saw him on the set of GMFB, and then I started talking to him. Really nice guy. We talked at great length. When he was on the show, and he was like, oh, I was talking to someone. He couldn't remember my name, which is fine. He meets millions of people. Hey, I was talking to somebody about the movie Go, and he was like going into this story. But he's also a huge football fan. I didn't realize this. Giants fan. He was asking me about Chicago. And funny enough, we started talking about Ben Johnson and all these coaching things. And again, I know we've been talking about this at great length. Greg Braggs was on the show earlier this week talking about, Bill Belichick, which I'm on board. I like his. I'm down with Greg's theory of what he wants to see happen. And if it's Bill Belichick, fine. I'm personally in the Mike Vrabel camp because I think Vrabel's a little bit younger. He's got a little bit more riz with the young kids. And again, like God, who was I talking to? I was talking to one of my sources with the Chicago Bears. And I said, you let Ryan Poles know Daboll and Vrabel with the Patriots connection. Like, this is a way to get a Patriots connection without having to deal with a 73-year-old man and a 21-year-old girlfriend. Which, again, like, I wonder how the McCaskies will take. You guys worried about the McCaskies. If anything, how do you think Bill Belichick's girlfriend would factor into the coaching search with the Chicago Bears? Would it be something? Would it matter? I don't know. I still like the idea of Mike Vrabel. And for anybody who goes out there, and I know, and listen, I respect everybody's opinion. I really do. And this goes back to a time when we were, talking about Justin Fields and Caleb Williams and bringing up all that stuff. I understand everybody's point of view. I understand why you want Ben Johnson. And I'm not even going to argue with you. The only time that I really put my foot down and say absolutely not is with Cliff Kingsbury. And I've let my thoughts on Cliff Kingsbury be widely known. I understand. And if the Bears went out there and hired Ben Johnson, I would support their decision 100% because I'm a fan of the team. Okay? If they're asking me, what would you do? It's like if we go out to pizza, okay? And somebody's like, what is the pizza that you want? And I'm like, I would like the Hawaiian pizza, but I understand that not everybody loves pineapple on their pizza. So if the overwhelming majority, if the group comes together and like, we're not ordering a pizza with pineapple on it, I'm not going to sit there and throw a fit. I'm going to go along with everybody. I'm going to have the pepperoni or the sausage or whatever it is, and I'm going to support the decision. That's the way that I'm going about that. So I understand everybody who likes Ben Johnson. I will put a little bit of a pushback. I think we really do need to get away from coaches, first-time head coaches who are going to be calling plays. I just don't think that works. I don't like the idea of it. There's too much going on. And when you have that type of situation, you run into the problems that the Bears have right now. It's hard to establish an identity when you have too many things on your plate that you have to focus on. And if you're going to come into this situation as a head coach who's like, I'm just calling the plays, I don't care what happens on defense. We're going to let Lou Anarumo run the defense. I don't like it. As a matter of fact, like that is the kind of thing that I like. Not only Mike Vrabel, and let's bring in Brian Daboll, but let's find a way to get Lou Anarumo out of Cincinnati, rescue him out of Cincinnati, and now we're starting to put together a coaching staff. That's what I want. I want a coaching staff. I don't want the hot name. Hey, the flavor of the month, Ben Johnson. Like, we don't know. We legitimately don't know. This is what we thought about Cliff Kingsbury. And when Cliff Kingsbury really didn't even deserve his first NFL job. There's nothing about Cliff Kingsbury, his coaching resume as a head coach, that tells you he should be an NFL head coach. He was not a great college coach. He was not a great NFL coach. Is he an okay coordinator? Not so far. Jayden Daniels is playing all right. Got to make sure people are not looking for me. I will be on the NFL Network. Yeah, I'm NFL Network, making sure they're not trying to find me. But at the same time, I want a coaching staff, and I want a ball breaker who is going to make sure that things are on the up and up with the with everything. I just don't want Tyreek Stevenson situations. I don't want Cam Meredith type penalties. I don't want dumb things going on with this football team. If I could go the rest of my life without the Bears shooting themselves in the foot with dead ball penalties, with, lapses in judgment, I would be a very happy man. I really would. I just don't want our team to do dumb things anymore. And I think we need a head coach that needs to be accountable. We've talked about this at great length. I respect all of your opinions, but at the same time, as I say that, let's let Thomas Brown go out there and do his thing in San Francisco over the weekend, or should I say Santa Clara, which I will not be at because I was so stunned. I was so let down by my experience in Arizona that I'm like, I'm not booking this thing. Had I known that Thomas Brown was going to be the head coach in his first game, it doesn't matter. I got weekend soccer anyways. But let's look at some of these games over the weekend. It's time now for the Sick Picks.
It's time for Sick Picks. Brought to you by Circa Sports Illinois.
That's right. The world's largest sports book in Las Vegas is right at your fingertips. The Circa Sports app is sports betting the way it should be. Experience high moneyline splits, tremendous in-game betting, and the best customer service. It's the Circa Sports app. Go to circasports.com, or better yet, download the app, and you can bet anywhere in Illinois. Your new bookie is the Circa Sports app. Sports betting the way it should be. And if you or someone you know has a problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER or text ILGAMB to 833-234. All right, let's get to the picks. We're already 1-0. Ooh, God, we're not talking that way. I did say the Green Bay Packers were going to win. If you're going straight money line, yeah. If you're going on, the 3.5, like whatever. Let's look at some of the other games. We're just picking games though. We're going to look at the Las Vegas Raiders at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I believe, will win this game by more than a touchdown. I think the Raiders are a little frisky in this one. I love Jacoby Myers. For anybody who's playing fantasy football, Jacoby Myers. Brock Bowers, dark horse candidate for Rookie of the Year. You got to love him. The New York Jets are on the road to play the Miami Dolphins. I believe the Dolphins will win this by more than a touchdown. Will win this game. A lot of defensive injuries for the New York Jets. So anybody who's playing fantasy football, Tua Tagovailoa, great start. Devon Achane, amazing so far this season. And of course, Jonnu Smith, the leading pass catcher for the Miami Dolphins, just like we all drew it up. Carolina Panthers at the Philadelphia Eagles. Are the Philadelphia Eagles 2 touchdowns better than the Carolina Panthers? No. I do believe that the Eagles will win this game, but I think the Panthers are playing pretty well. Bryce Young playing a lot better over the last couple of weeks. Adam Thielen has had at least 50 yards in back-to-back games. He will be, is he going to be shadowed by Cooper DeJean? That would be fitting. But in any sense, I do like Adam Thielen from a fantasy perspective in the fact that if this game plays the way a lot of those folks in Vegas are anticipating, a lot of opportunity for Bryce. And Bryce Young might throw 46 passes in this one. The New Orleans Saints at the New York Giants. I like the Saints in this one. I do like them by let's say by a field goal. I don't expect it to be a high-scoring game. I'm curious to see where a lot of the offense is going to come from for the New Orleans Saints. Obviously, Alvin Kamara on the verge of having 1,000 rushing yards for the first time in his career. However, I think this is going to be a tough one. I just think it'll be low scoring for that. By the way, Wan'Dale Robinson, great sleeper for the New York Giants. All right, Cleveland Browns at the Pittsburgh Steelers. I got the Steelers by a touchdown in this one. I would just say the Steelers win this one. I would expect this one to be higher scoring than people are anticipating. Jameis Winston, great start. Russell Wilson, great start. Any wide receiver who isn't George Pickens is a great start, it seems like. Jerome Ford is somebody that I'm keeping on my radar, but I'm not starting him in any format. Jacksonville at Tennessee. Oh, by the way, this one's at Tennessee. I've been saying at Jacksonville all the time. I do like Tennessee in this one. I like Tennessee winning this one. Let's say I actually believe this is going to end up being a higher scoring game than people are giving it credit for. I think this ends up being like a 31-27 game in favor of Tennessee. And by the way, Mac Jones, Will Levis, both viable fantasy options. Calvin Ridley in a revenge game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Brian Thomas Jr. Now, Brian Thomas Jr. kind of got lost last week because Parker Washington did so well here. But I'm going to keep, I'll tell you what. I want Brian Thomas Jr. getting close to 80 receiving yards, but I do think that Parker Washington could have over 31 yards receiving, like both quarterbacks in the sense of fantasy. Atlanta Falcons at Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins' revenge game doesn't really mean anything to me in this one. I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings by a touchdown. Justin Jefferson has not had more than 86 receiving yards in 3 out of his last 4 games. Jordan Addison could have a monster game. Darnell Mooney is also somebody to look at. The Arizona Cardinals are playing host to the Seattle Seahawks. I like the Cardinals by a field goal in that one. The Los Angeles Rams playing host to the Buffalo Bills. You know what? I think the Rams win this one. I think this is a come-down game for the Buffalo Bills. I'll take them. Los Angeles Chargers at the Kansas City Chiefs. I would actually just say the Chargers win this one. Chargers win. The Chiefs have been skating by far too often. I'm going to go with the Chargers. I'm going to go with the Bengals on Monday Night Football against the Dallas Cowboys. Can we not flex in another game? The Chicago Bears, I'm taking the Chicago Bears despite the fact that they're going into this one as underdogs. This is going to be the first opportunity for Thomas Brown to prove himself as a head coach. It's funny because the public seems to be on the Chicago Bears, but I've heard a couple of people on the radio who are now trying to do contrarian plays and be like, I'm going the other way. I'm not taking the Bears. I don't think that's going to be good. But I do think the Bears win this one. And we talked about it earlier this week. Thomas Brown, the minimum that Thomas Brown has to do, got to win 4 games. I would say 5 locks up his gig. 3 is going to be a tough sell unless those 3 wins are over the divisional opponents. If the Bears do not respond to this one, and let's say they get hammered. You never know. Isaac Guerrero runs for 200 yards or something like that. By the way, Isaac Guerrero should be a start in your fantasy leagues. The Thomas Brown campaign could be over very quickly if things do not go as planned for the Chicago Bears. But I got a lot of confidence. As a matter of fact, and honestly, if the offense continues to play well, if the offense closes out really well and they're not winning games, I think there's a good opportunity to kind of make good with Thomas Brown and ask Mike Vrabel. Maybe instead of the Brian Daboll thing, Thomas Brown is the offensive coordinator. Although, try to keep some continuity with Caleb Williams. And you know what? The good thing, too, is if Thomas Brown were to stay on, and I know it's tough to go from interim coach back to offensive coordinator once you get a taste of the limelight, like you're now in the head coaching carousel, I would actually consider that some continuity with Thomas Brown so it's not as jarring to Caleb Williams. But hey, you know what? You got to go out there and win this one. We will be at Rip Beer Company down on PCH and Warner in Huntington Beach for this one. The Rams are at home at the same time. So anybody in Southern California, we will be down at Rip Beer Company. I do have a soccer match at 9 a.m. Then I'll come home and watch the tape of the Fulham Arsenal fixture. But still, the Bears, the main event here, Sunday afternoon, Rip Beer Company. Please come down and join us and have a good time. I want to thank everybody for being here. Thanks so much for hanging out, leaving comments, and doing all that good stuff. We will be back on Sunday evening to wrap up Thomas Brown's debut as the interim coach for the Chicago Bears. So until that time, Sammy, go ahead and play us out and bear down.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Adam Rank on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. Brought to you by Circa Sports Illinois.